Alrighty, good afternoon, almost evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's about 5:54, and it's still light out. You can see on the left, right-hand side of my little cam thing, there's light over there, so pretty awesome. Definitely coming into summer at some point, and I've definitely still got a cough. Yeah, that's not good. So, Monopoly. We left off last time. Is that how you spell Angel Islington? Yeah, I guess it is. But we've got everything. Well, we haven't got everything. We're going to need a fair bit more in here to actually do stuff. And I feel like I want to get the framework finished today. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to be able to play the game, but it does mean we're going to have the framework. So a property. So we're going to start to put some stuff in here, which is going to be, some more interesting information. Now, unfortunately, that does mean that the whatchamacallit, the board setup is going to become a lot more complicated, but yeah, that's kind of what needs to happen. Purchase price. Mortgage price. Now it is a bit interesting to be put these values in it, because these are what we're going to do is we're going to make these finals. Because these are never going to change. The purchase price and the mortgage price are never going to change. So we want to make them finals. And then what that does is it forces us to define them here. Now, unfortunately, that means that all of these are going to need them as well, but that's not too bad. It's kind of a little bit of repetitiveness, I guess, because... Oh, I forgot to copy the comma. But anyway, super... So yeah, that's not too bad. That's going to screw up our thingamy-bob there. And yeah, so this is going to be another one of those slow, painful bits to the video that I guess we're going to have to do. So this is the purchase price and then the rent, the mortgage price, which is usually half, but we'll keep them separate just for the hell of it. And let me see if I can find the cards for the first one. Old Kent and Whitechapel. So they're both 60 and they're both mortgage for 30. We could have some sort of rule where we say the mortgage is half of the purchase price, but all we're really doing when we do that is we're trying to save ourselves pain of coding. And actually that's interesting, because Park Lane is, I think, the only one that costs a number that's not divisible by 20. Oh, and it's mortgage for 175, so it is exactly half. But as I said, the only thing we're really saving ourselves here is time, is coding time. And it's nice to have it separate and not to have the rule as flexible, so or unflexible, sorry. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put these guys in. So this will be 200, 100, and I'll come back just in a sec after these have all been typed in. Okay, so that's all of them done, all the numbers typed in. For a moment, I thought I actually lost the card to Regent Street, but managed to find it in the end, so that was awesome. And I've actually got all the cards sorted out in front of me, which is nice. So now. So as far as the information we need, the stations and the utilities don't need any more information. Station, the rent is kind of defined in a rule. It doesn't, all of the stations have the same thing, so we don't really need to pass it in as a parameter. Utility, ditto. Real estate, we need some additional parameters. So this is going to be private int base rent. And these are going to be final as well. So then we want private int final int I wonder if we could do these as, so we got different rents for 1 house, 2 house, 3 house, 4 houses, and a hotel. And to be honest, I don't think we need to encapsulate the idea of a hotel. We can just say 5 houses. Because that's what happens. You build 4 houses, and then you build a 5th house, and it becomes a hotel. And I don't think you can build multiple hotels on a property. I think you can just build one. So, yeah. Although it does say there's it does say you can't build a hotel until you've already got 4 houses. So maybe that's, I don't know. I've never played it like that, so maybe we'll just have houses. Final int. What we could do is we could do this, which is which is a bit of a sneaky way of doing it, but and potentially could cause problems if we don't manage it correctly. And equals rent. But it should be okay. So that means that this is going to be, well, what just happened? Why does it put a bracket? Doesn't need, this is a valid, it thinks I'm doing something. I think this is how you define a list. It doesn't want to let me do it though. Let's see if this works. So that's 2, 10, 30, 90, 1, 60, and 250. Is that how you define an int array? Maybe not. Maybe not. Let's just have a. It's been a while since I defined an int array. Okay. So we do it like that. There we go. And later on, we can do, we could just say get the rent, and then we pass in the number of houses on it as the index, and that'll come out beautiful. So it's probably the easiest way to do it. I'm going to have to go back and fix all these values eventually, but for now I think I'm going to leave them. I'll do them off camera, obviously, but the only complication here is that if somebody owns all of the properties, then the rent is doubled. So if they own all the properties but there's no houses, obviously, then the rent is doubled. If there's houses or a hotel or something like that, then the rent is not doubled. I've just hidden my thing. Still looks okay. So So it's a lot of values, but they had to be defined at some point, so they might as well be defined here. And the fact that we're defining them all at one place means that it's easier to tweak them. It's actually better than having a separate class for like Old Kent Road with all of its values defined in there. Better to have them all in one place. So now there's two more things that need to be defined here. Two very important things. Let me see, board setup strand. I'm just confirming because I realized, 110, that there's a mortgage value on the front of the card. So you can see on the back, it says mortgage down the bottom. And then down the bottom of the card, it says mortgage value as well. So it's actually written on there twice, which obviously it's going to match, so that's fine. Back to what I was saying. So there's two other things that we need to define here. So private final house price, which is going to be that. And the other thing that we need to define is going to be sets. So we need to define which properties belong to which sets. So we got 8 different sets. How do we want to do this? Do we want to make it an enum? Do we want to make it just a straight integer? Do we want to have some sort of internal relationship where all real estates that relate to each other have a link to each other? I'm just going to make it simple. Final int set index. Okay. So int set index, int house price, this dot set. Okay, so if we go to Mr. Old Kent Road, we can see that this guy is going to be 0, 50, and Whitechapel is going to be the same. Angel Islington is going to be 150 because they still cost $50 to build a road. This is actually going to be really quick to do, so I'm just going to do them. So Paul Mall, that and that are going to be 2 100. This is going to be 3 100 because they're the orange ones. And then the strand is 4 150. It's very interesting. The back of the card, for me, the front of the card, if you have a look here, that might be very hard to read. It says cost of hotel $150 plus 4 houses. So I've always played it that you can instantly build a hotel if you got the money, but I guess it's kind of trying to say no, trying to say you have to have a thing, but whatever, I'm just going to build it according to my own rules. 7 200, and that's the final bit. So that tells us what set it's part of and what the purchase price of the house is, which obviously is information that only belongs in the real estate. So now we've got this. We could start filling in these methods, which would be nice. Which I suppose would be nice. But we're not going to. I want to get all of the other framework stuff set up right at the moment. So although the player, it's more the logic. We need to, I guess, either we need to start working on either the game controller or the logic for the rent and stuff like that. I guess I'd like to start working on the game controller. So we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to have a controller up here, and the controller had a whole bunch of different things. So game controller. What was the player controller? So that had the a player module. Okay, so I think we're going to do the same thing here. I think we're going to have exactly the same framework. So I'm going to get this and this. I'm going to copy both of them into here. What? Okay, let's do it one at a time. Player modules. So don't need to worry about that method yet. A player module. Controller.player modules. So this is fine. Don't know whether we need to initialize. I guess we do. And this class does not need to exist. Okay. All right, so that's pretty nice then. So we got a game controller. Okay. So at this point, let's have a look here. So if we got the run for mastermind. So we got the game controller. And then we go to the run method. Initialize the board. And we don't... I suppose we need to pass in the player module. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. So we are going to need a run method in game controller. And what we're going to do is each player is going to have private a player module. So we can have different players actually behave differently. A player module. And yes, we might as well make all these final as well. Although I think there is a Eclipse option which automates making things like this. So we're going to have a stupid player, and we don't need an extra package for AI because we got nothing but AI. So that extends a player module. You're going to need a constructor, unimplemented method. Okay. Well, that doesn't really need to do anything. We'll leave it in there anyway, but get all starting players. What are you complaining about? Stupid player module. All right, so that's pretty good. We got a run method. So let's have a look here. Private void process player turn player. Okay, that's good. So here we go. While we're going to have another wonderful while true method here. Int turns equals 0, turns plus, if turns equals 10,000, log handler dot get instance.crash game did not end naturally. We might make this like a const final or something like that, but 10,000 is a pretty big number. So that'll keep us out of infinite loop territory. So now let's go to our store, Monopoly store. We need some sort of way of figuring out whose turn it is. So private int turn index, initialize this dot turn index equals 0. Public player get current player return players dot get turn index public void new player's turn next player's turn index turn index plus plus if turn index equals players dot size turn index equals 0. Okay, so we're starting to get a little bit of momentum going on here. So game controller. Okay, so Monopoly store. What the hell? What did I just get myself into? That's not what I wanted to do. Just get a single one. Is this not a, there's got to be a static method. Okay. So apparently we can call a static method even on a non-static context, which I wouldn't have thought would be possible, but anyway, so we got the store there. So right there at the end, we do store dot next player's turn. And then process player turn store dot get current player. Okay. We also need if game over return. Okay, so we need this create method game over. Okay. So the lose condition for a player is if their money has run out. So public boolean has lost. And if they've lost, then they're out of the game. Return money equals 0. Okay, so game controller, we need to say player equals store dot get current player. Actually, you know what? We won't do that here. So process player's turn. If player dot has lost, just encapsulate that logic inside here. Now, the nice thing about doing it in here is we don't have to adjust this. We'll still go through all of the losing players, so we don't have to put any special logic in there to test that decision. Because this will go through, it will try and process the player's turn for the players who already lost, but it'll just say, oh, you've already lost, so you don't get a turn, return. Okay. So here we're going to say int still playing count equals 0 for player monopoly stored dot get instance dot get still playing. Let's just do it in here. Monopolo store. Well, do we? Here's the thing. We could either do get all players here and then do the logic internally here, or we can do the logic inside here. Okay, so let's do a combination. Let's not get all the players and then do a check, but we're not going to have a specific method that returns the number of active players, because that's not useful. What we will do is we will say .activePlayers.size equals 1. And this active players method will be useful in other situations as well. So that's a list of player. Okay. Now, note that even when we're creating a new list, we're just adding the existing players from this list onto it. So we're not duplicating, we're not cloning any player objects, which is very important. We never want to clone a player object. Players, if player has lost, not lost, active players dot add player, return active players. So in the game controller, which we could almost, we don't even really need this method, but maybe there's another condition for the game being over. I'm not sure, so we'll just leave it like this. We'll compartmentalize it nicely in this game over method. Man, my coffee's really not good. I've been talking way too much today. I have to start taking lozenges or something. I used to do StarCraft commenting back in the day, and I used to take lozenges before I talked every single time. Because I did them every single day, and otherwise my voice would just die. But yeah, haven't done that for ages, but might need to start doing that again, taking lozenges. Okay, so we need to get the instruction manual, salary, the blah, 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 blah. So what we need to do here is we need to go through the player's turn. I'm looking at the manual. Is very old manual, very old version of the game, and it doesn't give me a very clear. I could look on the underside of the board. No, some boards have, like, the underside has like a clear-cut set of rules. This one doesn't. But there's supposed to be a list of what I'm wondering what they can do, what each turn consists of. Because the question is, what can they do in what order? I think what we're going to do is they land, they do the thing that they landed on, and then after that, they can do a combination of trading and building. I think, see, it doesn't, the rules don't specifically say if that's the way it goes, but that's the way that I'm going to call it, going to say it. So what we're going to do here is int dice roll equals dice utils dot roll 2d6 player dot whatever, int board index equals player dot, where's the player's location? We haven't got getters yet. We probably need to get some getters. Source, just getters, obviously, because they're all finals. Wait, why did I make this a final? These two should not be finals. Money and location. So in that case, we do need setter. Generate getters and setters. Okay, nice. It's recognizing I can't generate setters for the finals, so that's beautiful. Board index dot player dot get location plus dice roll mod board dot let's do a thing here. Actually, what we can do is we can just have private board here. Board equals store dot get board. How can you not? Don't I have a board? I should have a board. And then we don't have to go into the Monopoly store in here because we've already got the board. Dot size, which, yeah, is not really necessary, but it's nice. It's better than hard coding 40 into here. When you're in something like the game controller, you don't want to hard code things if you don't have to. Some places you hard code them, but it's okay to hard code things in player setup and board setup, but in the actual code, in these actual things, it's not as nice to hard code things if you can avoid it. So, okay. Plus board location dot get index. Okay, so that'll move them forward, and then the what is it? Yeah. I had a thought and then I lost it. That's not good. It's not good to lose your thoughts. Yeah, so that'll get them to the next location. So in a board location, new location equals equals board dot get location board index. And I just realized that we're going to have to move this out into a different method. If you press Control 1, you could actually do that. Now, the reason we want to do that is because if you roll a double, you get to move again. So we're going to need to do that. Player move Boolean if this is a double. Okay, so we're going to have to dice 1 roll. So we can't do this roll 2d6 again. Dice 2 roll. Dice 1 roll. and then we're going to return dice 1 roll equals dice 2 roll. And then we're going to have to pass it in here because... No, you know what we're going to do? We're going to move this stuff outside the method. Because if you roll it 3 times, then you have to go to jail. So that kind of sucks. So we'll put another while true loop. Yeah, I guess. So dice 1 plus dice 2. If dice 1 is not equal to dice 2, break. Int movement. Movement. Okay, excellent. Now we don't need a boolean anymore, so we can get rid of that. Now what we do need here is we need a bit of code here. So int double count equals 0. Double count plus plus. If double count equals 2 and dice 1 roll equals dice 2 roll, player goes to jail, basically. Player dot set location, and we have to go to the board here, and we have to say board dot get location 10. Now remember, the jail is a special thing because there's in jail and there's just visiting. So we need to manage that, and it's going to be on the player. So set in jail. So that's going to be set in jail is kind of a stupid. Let's do that. That's a bit nicer. Arrested. So private boolean is in jail. So that's not the same as is in jail equals true. Now, if we go to the game controller, we have to say something if player dot is, if they're in jail, do something. Boolean. Okay, and the way you usually play it is you can get out straight away if you pay $50. If you don't have $50, then you just roll the dice, and if you get a double, you get out. If you get a double, you get out, and then you use that as your move. May have to, and then you can also get out, but for the third time you don't get a double, then you have to pay. You have to pay the money, and if you don't, then I guess you just, if you don't have the money, I guess you sit there. But it's like $50 or something to get out. So that means we need a counter for how many days the player has been in jail. Mastermind. Where's my game controller? We're also going to need to pull these out, because when you roll a double, that double becomes your move as well. You don't roll again to see how you move. So we fill them out at the start, and then we jump into the while loop, and then at the end we roll them. That's a little bit counterintuitive. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But whatever. Yeah, it's a little bit funky, but it'll still work the same. So you go in, this will be false. You'll move based on the dice rolls you've already made up here. And yeah. So if player is in jail, maybe we'll make this an integer. We kind of want an integer as well. Jail turns arrested, public void stayed in jail. Public int jail turns, get jail turns, I suppose. We're kind of getting into the weeds, but I guess, you know, we have to, at some point we have to code this up, so we might as well. So if player is in jail, if dice1 equals dice2, then they get out of jail. Do we have a method for that yet? Public void released from jail is in jail equals false. Jail turns equals 0, which we don't really care about jail turns because it's going to be reset, but we'll set it to 0 anyway. Player dot released from jail. Else if player dot jail turns, well, that's not what I want. Dot get jail turns. So let me think. So it starts at 0, then they fail and it goes up to 1, and it fails, it goes up to 2, and they've failed already. So we just need, so there's 2 previous ones and now it's the 3rd one. So now the player is forced to stayed in jail. Okay. And I'm assuming you can't trade or buy houses while you're in jail. That's just stupid. So if the player dot only 50 player dot released from jail. I believe that's the probation money. Getting out of jail. Where is it? Jail. Yeah, it says here you can sell or buy property, buy houses, and collect rentals even though you're in jail. I've never played it like that, so we're not going to code that rule in. That's just dumb. I mean, collecting rent while you're in jail, that's stupid. I know it says it in the official rules, but we're not playing it like that. I'm going to code it up the way I've always played it, which is the way I think is the best. So, yeah, okay. Lose money, and the way I've always played it as well is that the money you pay goes into what's called free parking. So it goes into the middle of the board. And then, I think, yeah, this is kind of a made-up rule. So a lot of the stuff, whenever you have to pay, other than buying property and buying houses, but the chance, the community chest, the income tax, the super tax, and I guess the jail as well, that stuff goes into the board dot add free parking money, which we're going to do here. So, because I think that's more interesting. So when you land on free parking, you get all the money. Lose money. This dot money minus equals money lost. Okay. Player dot lose money. If player dot get money is less than 50, I'm just going to say player dot released. I'm just going to say if you got less than $50, then you just get kicked out. You got less than $50 and you've been in jail for that long, then you just get kicked out. Or, no, you know what? You don't get kicked out. You just stay there. You just stay there. Less than 50. So you're basically, you just not enough money. Wait till you roll a double. So you could stay there almost forever. Well, eventually you'll roll a double and then you'll be able to get out. But yeah, as long as we make this more than or equal to 2, and then technically we should say player stayed in jail. Even though we don't have to add the jail turns, it's thematically correct. Board locations, private, int, free parking, money, which I suppose don't really need to define this, but let's define it anyway. Add free parking money. Now, I don't know. Sometimes I put the this plus equals money. Okay, so that's beautiful. We probably need a get here as well. Select getters. Null pointer. I'm not even running anything. I don't know what I was doing there, but okay. So we go back to the game controller. So player move. So we move to the new location, and then we process that board's location. So new location dot player lands on location. And I think that's basically it. So the player lands on location will include rent. It will include purchasing the property. It'll include landing on free parking, community chest, chance. It'll include go to jail. It'll include all of that stuff. And yeah, what we need to do now actually is we need to say if okay. Okay. If board index less than player.getLocation.getIndex, player dot gain money 200. Okay. Need to do that as well. This dot money plus equals money gained. And I know I said that, you know, it's not a good idea to put constants in this class, the game controller, but I mean, this is kind of a core rule sort of thing. This is like this is kind of, I don't know, where else would you put it? Gain board dot get. Wasn't there a method in board setup? Because we needed it for the player setup. Board location. Game controller. Oh, I'm lost. No, I'm not lost. I'm over here. Board.getLocation 0. Okay, so what we could do here is we could say board.getLocation 0 dot I'm going to do go location, because if I do the thing get go money, let's do bit money gained. Okay. Create method get go location, return. What's the name of this? Go. There's a little bit of a fat finger here, but we specifically need go to be a thing here. So board locations dot get 0. It's a little bit of a hack, but yeah. I don't want to have to do casting in here if I don't have to. And go is enough of a fancy thing that we're going to have to do it. Yeah. Now, I think if you land on go, you get 200. Lands on or passes over go. So that means that this player lands on location, does nothing. Do nothing. 200 will be given elsewhere. Because according to the game controller, if you move and land on go, and go has an index of 0, so this logic will definitely be triggered. Absolutely 100% be triggered. So the player will gain the money. So that's pretty much it. Now there's nothing else where a player passes over that something happens. Only on go do they pass over something and then something happens. So that's why it has to have special logic. Everything else you land on it, and then there's special, and then there's sorts out the logic itself. And we've got this player lands on location for beautiful stuff. So we might be able to, we'll do a little bit of code here. So player dot int money equals monopoly store dot. I hate it when it does that. When my mouse is over 1, get free parking money. We're not going to call it get, we're going to take. And take is actually going to reduce it to 0. Player dot gain money. So the player takes all the free parking money. Create. Is this? No, that's not what we want. We do not want this dot. We want dot get board. That's better. Create method. Get free parking money. We're going to have to make it temporary variable, I guess. 0. Just because I'm not sure how we would set it to 0 and return it in the one statement. I'm not sure if that's even possible. It might be possible, some advanced Java stuff, but anyway. So we got that. Go, we don't need to worry about. Go to jail. Go to jail, we can definitely... now, we haven't actually put anything in here to say what happens. So let's... The actual landing in jail, I don't think it's going to be too hard. So what we do is player dot arrested, player dot set location, board dot god damn it, monopoly store dot get instance dot get board dot get location 10. Now this sort of stuff we will have to hard code it a little bit. I know I put board.size in there somewhere into certain locations, but I don't think we're going to do anything crazy like changing the board, changing the things. So yeah. Or what we could actually do is we could do that. Now that's awesome. That's a little bit crazy, I guess, but for a board locations dot values if class a board location class if location. Now I have a funny feeling this is going to fail because I've gone into this class matching crap before, and I think it was actually in KDM logs that we did it. Logs. Yeah, it was something. Let's go have a look and see if we can find it. Battle log. Add logs, get all logs. Get all logs of class type. Class type is instance. Okay. So bl class dot is instance. Okay, that's not something I want to mess around with again, but and then here we'll do a crash log. Not find board location of class type bl class dot get simple name, and then we return null because it doesn't realize that this is actually going to crash the program. It just thinks, oh, you know, still need to return something. So go to jail. Why not? It's a T, isn't it? I need to template that stupid thing. This is very advanced stuff. Let's just go back to here. Battle log. Okay, let's just copy this whole method because yeah, this took me a lot of time to figure it out for KDM. So T extends. So it's templating a class, a method basically. So you can template classes, but so what are we doing here? A log. Oh, okay. T. Return location. Okay. I think will do it. So we do go to jail. Yes, now it accepts it. Needed to be templated because, I don't know, it just, once you get into classes and actual passing around of class arguments, it starts to get a little bit crazy. Is this my log handler? I think it's my log handler. Yeah. So, what we want to do as well, what did we just update? The Monopoly store? No, it was the board. Apparently I'm waking up in 9 hours, according to Flux. I need to change that time, although I do sometimes wake up. We need to also get location by name. We also will need this method at some point. A board location if location dot get. This has a name, right? Public string get name. We will need that because there's some cards that tell you to like go to Pall Mall or go to the electric company or go to this or go to that or blah blah blah. So get name dot equals ignore case return, and we no longer need to cast it of, and we'll still keep the crash log here because these should all be very much hard coded when we actually call this method. So yeah. Set location, get location of. Now can we go back and get rid of this method? I'd like to think we could. Go board dot get location of go dot class. That's nice. We could also do get location by name and type in go, but this is a bit more specific. And there's also the hack that we got at the start where we pass the location in there. Let's do this here as well. Just to make it a bit nicer. We're never going to move go from index 0, but just to make it a bit nicer. Okay, so we were filling in these. Player arrested and get sent to jail. Technically, yeah, it does suppose it really matters. Jail is just visiting. And then we got income tax and super tax. Now, we already had this stuff. So let's just copy that. Now, what is this? Super tax is, apparently it's $100. If player dot get money is more than 100, Monopoly store dot get board. You know what I just realized? This is, we don't actually need an if statement here because, yeah, and if we go back to the game controller, we don't need this check. Because if the player doesn't have enough money, then they start mortgaging stuff and selling stuff off and blah, 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 blah. And if they still don't have enough money, then they lose. So I think if you're in jail and you have less than $50 and you don't have any properties, they're all mortgaged, you got nothing, and you can't trade your way out of it, then you're screwed. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove this and we're going to say player lose money. And then if money is less than money lost, refinance. And refinance is going to mean do whatever the hell you can to get money. Actually, while refinance. And refinance will be it'll be kind of a if statement. So if you can do this, try to sell houses, try to mortgage. I don't think you can trade in this situation. I think you have to sell your houses, and I think you have to mortgage. And I think that's all you can really do. You can't trade. You can't say, oh, well, I need to pay this bill. You know, can you trade or something like that? I'm not really sure when you're allowed to trade. Doesn't actually, does it say anything about trading? Mortgages, bankrupts. It does say you can sell stuff at any time. Rent. Landing on owned property. If the owner fails to ask for his rent before the second player following throws the dice, the rent is not collectible. Ha. What does it say? The rules actually don't say what happens if you land on a rent and you can't afford it. It doesn't give you any specifics. So I think we're just going to do that. But yeah, I think when you have to pay something and you don't have the money, then no trading. You just have to get out from under it with your assets. If nothing left, then lose. Try to sell. So you sell the houses first and then you mortgage, or you do combinations. Maybe you mortgage all the things that don't have houses and then you start to sell the houses and then you do this and then you do that, blah, blah, blah. So refinance. Okay. So we go back to super tax and that'll all happen inside the lose money. So we just call this single method and then we're guaranteed to lose 100 money. Except if they go out of the game, and technically there isn't $100 to get back. So int lost money. I guess we need to do this just in case the player completely runs out of money. Refinance. If not refinance, so in other words, if you can't refinance, money equals 0. Money equals 0, return money. And this will be Boolean. So if you absolutely can't refinance, then you basically go down the toilet. And that's basically when you've lost. And in that case, you only lose a certain amount of money, and then that money goes into the middle. Jail. So go to the game controller. Int lost money equals, yeah. Because if they're dead broke, you can't invent money and then put it in the middle. So you got to do it like that. So that's the super tax. And then if we go to income tax, so super tax was 100, income tax is 200 or 10%. So int money to lose equals 200. If player.getMoney divide by 10 is less than 200. Oh no, wait. This is greater than 200. Or you choose. I suppose you choose. You get to choose, don't you? So if 10% of your total money is less than 200, money to lose equals player.getMoney divided by 10. But if you got a crap load of money, like over 2 grand, then you would choose to lose the 200, which kind of sucks. Player.loseMoney. These are all integers as well, so they're all going to get rounded. I'm not sure if we need to worry about rounding up or down for the income tax. It probably tells you to round it up. Actually, these rules are pretty light. It probably doesn't tell you at all. So we'll get into that later, though. Maybe if we decide we care. So we got that. We got that. So we got all of these except chance and community chest, which will require card manipulation. We got to code up all the cards, and then we got to put it in. And for the properties, these won't be too hard. Real estate. We also need to put in private int houses. This dot houses equals 0. A property already has an in-mortgaged variable. We should probably put these below. Like to have the final ones a bit above. So yeah, so real estate will need a houses, number of houses. And remember, we're treating hotels as just being 5 houses to make it easier. Station, that's fine. Utilities, that's fine. The rent will be completely determined by how many other ones the owner has as well. So those should be pretty straightforward. We're not going to do them now, though. I think I'm about done. It's 7:15. I've actually been doing this for ages. Oh man. So what I'll do is I'll go back. We need to do this. We need to fix all these up, and then all of the rent values. So I'll fix all those up, and then I'll commit the code, and then we will be good to go. So thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed it. We're still quite a bit away from the actual AI implementation, but it's a quite a complicated game to actually code up. Risk is probably simpler in terms of the rules, but more complicated in terms of the AI. This is more complicated rules, but simpler AI. So, but Risk, definitely looking forward to Risk at some point. But anyway, Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys later.